Hi, my name is Pawan Oberoi. I'm part of a company called Epiphany. We are based out of the Bay Area in California. We are the company behind Whiteboard.chat. So this is the agenda that we are going to talk about today. I'll give you a brief introduction, couple of slides to the whiteboard. We'll demonstrate all the features that Whiteboard has today, and then we'll give you some time to play with it live with us and view it as students. And anytime you have questions, I request you, can you please type them out on the Zoom chat, and my colleague Shilpa, who's with us, she will periodically read it out to me. So where does whiteboard.chat fit into the learning ecosystem? It's primarily an observability and an engagement platform. It works well with different communication tools, like we are using Zoom today. It works with Google Meet, it works with Microsoft Teams, and it integrates nicely. Teachers use it with Canvas, Google Classroom, Schoology, or any other LMS that are out there. I'll show you how teachers do that. They put the invite link into the Google Classroom or Schoology or even on chat. And you can actually embed it as an embedded application in an iframe on Canvas as well for younger students. Where whiteboard.chat really shines is this thing, the increasing engagement and increasing observability from a teacher's perspective. So think of it like this, right? Like when you are in a real classroom, you had the ability to walk around and see what the students were doing, whether they were working in group lessons or they were working individually. We want to bring that same thing back in a virtual world. But not only that, we want to give you the ability to observe all the groups or all the students at the same time simultaneously. So you can see how they're progressing through their assignments, where they're struggling, where they're doing well, and then you can interact with them on a one-on-one basis or with their group uh, individually, and then help them out or increase the assignment that is given to them. So all of that is what we want to do. So think of it as if there's a camera that is all the time pointing at what the student is doing, and you can observe them in real time. And we have been told that this increases the engagement from a student's perspective by a magnitude, because now teachers can see what they're doing versus them submitting assignments asynchronously and so forth. All that is still possible. You can still do async with whiteboard.chat, which I will show you as well. It's a fairly new platform. It started in August of this year, but it's growing like crazy. It's almost up to 40,000 users per day now. It is all used all around the world in different languages. It's primarily used in the US. Majority of our use cases are in the US, but it is used across the world. It works really well across a varied set of devices. And just yesterday on our Facebook group, one teacher was saying that this um, makes a common baseline for all students, because some students don't even have crayons or pencils or paper at home while others do. So, but having this as their teaching mechanism basically makes everybody the same. Whiteboard.chat is completely based on suggestions that we received from teachers. We started this. This is not our main product per se. That is why we have an enterprise product that we are working towards as well. But what we did was when COVID-19 hit and we saw people were struggling with remote learning, with remote communication, we created whiteboard.chat. And from that point onwards, we have received such overwhelming response from teachers. Like they have given us so many beautiful ideas. So we just took those ideas, we implemented it, and we keep doing it. We do maybe 10 to 15 new features every week. So it's a really rapidly evolving platform. That's why these webinars are important, because we record them and we post them so people have more awareness. But Please, if you like this platform, if you have anything that you want to share with us, send us an email, follow us on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. We even have a YouTube channel where we post these webinar videos as well as small snippets of how-tos once in a while. And there's a very lively group in Facebook, if you're on Facebook, it's called Teachers Using Whiteboard.chat, where teachers share stuff with each other, how they're doing using Whiteboard. I recommend you join that group as well. I'll post a link on the chat if you're interested. Okay, so now what I'll do is, that said, I'm going to directly jump into the platform. So it's a browser-based platform. So you don't need anything special. You just need to point your browser to whiteboard.chat. There is no apps to install. It works across Chromebooks, iPads, even mobile devices. So you can use it really well. Yesterday we added this Let It Snow mode, which I will show you a little bit too for Christmas. We are COPPA compliant. We are really passionate about student privacy. We do not do any advertising. We do not collect any privacy data, especially from the students. You can read it here if you want. We have done multiple agreements with different school districts to comply with their requests as well. And we'll be happy to do that with yours too. There are two modes whiteboard.chat works in. One is a collaboration mode, which is more at least from my perspective, more for enterprises, where all the participants get on the same board. They can collaborate with each other just like you would do with the Zoom whiteboard or Jamboard or any of those things, right? But the more interesting thing which we are going to focus on today completely is this teaching mode, where you can create, assign, and live teach individual student boards or small group boards, right? You can upload a PDF and automatically generate multiple workbooks, which I will show you, right? And each student gets their own copy. It is very simple. You don't need to sign up, sign in. Students never need to sign up, sign in, right? You only need to sign up with your Google account or your personal email if you want to save your work for subsequent sessions, right? So you get in, this is the whiteboard. I will explain parts of it. First thing you do is you can start drawing. Of course, it's a whiteboard, right? You can start typing anywhere. So you don't need to put input boxes. You can just start typing on the screen by putting your cursor somewhere, right? And then it'll start putting the text box automatically there. Right? There are tools on this right-hand side where you can change the color. So if I were to change the color to, let's say, blue, you can see that everything changes, even my pen color, but even the tools on the side, all of them change as well, right? You can change the thickness of the pen by clicking this. It will make it thicker or thinner. If you want to change the opacity, where you want to use it like a highlighter, you can use the second slider here, right? It will make it a highlighter at that point. And the third one is a recent add where you can actually change the font size independent of the pen size, right? So if you want to make the fonts bigger, you can do that with the third slider. We do support multiple fonts, and if you want to click this T button here, you can just select a different font. Again, these are all teacher requested stuff where you can change from one of the 4 fonts that are available to you to use on whiteboard.chat. Okay. That's the feature set on the right corner. You can change your name by clicking this thing. You can call yourself something else by clicking this, and it will change your name as well. And on the left-hand side here is the main toolbar. You can open this up by if you want to, so you can read better, but it does have tooltips which are recently made bigger, so it's easier to read, right? So I'll start from the bottom up. The text tool is an explicit text tool that you can click to put a text box somewhere if you want to, but remember, you can just type anywhere, right? The next thing is an object eraser, right, where you can erase objects. You can also just use the right click and drag, and it'll turn into an eraser. So if you quickly want to erase something, you can do that without picking tools. And if you want to go back to your default tool at any time, you can press escape, right? Then it will go back to the default tool as well. And then there are a whole bunch of tools in here, which I will show you. There's a line tool. You can draw arrows if you want to, right? There are circles, rectangles. You can do post-it notes if you want to, right? You can put text on it. You can draw on the post-it notes too. You have infinite cloner where you can make copies of any of the objects that you place here, right? Or you copy from the internet or from our manipulators, which I will show you, right? There's a ability to put a rich text editor. So if somebody wants to write a longer story, right, they can use that. This has a little more better alignment of formatting tools available, right? So you can write longer stories there if you wanted to. You can edit any of this. The easiest way is either you right click any of the text and say edit, right? You can just edit the text, right? You can do that. You can do the same thing to this guy as well. You can say edit, and you can keep editing the text that is available that was written at that point, right? So you can keep making edits to it. There are more tools which I will show you. Let me erase some of this stuff. Okay. Yeah. So there are more tools here. There's a built. You have the ability to create a link. So if you want to create a link to an external website, for example, if you want to create a link to Google, you can just put in the address there. It will create a button which you or your students can click. It will open in a different browser window, right? You can embed YouTube videos. So you can embed a YouTube video on the canvas itself. So if you go to YouTube, for example, you can take any video from there, right? And then you just copy the link, and you can put that link here, and then it'll show up. The kids have the ability to play it right on the whiteboard itself, right? It'll show up on their whiteboard too. We have a built-in compass, right? So if you want to do math constructions, there's a compass built in, so you can draw circles, arcs, whatever else that you want to. There's a built-in math editor, which is kind of cool too. You can write really complex equations if you wanted to with it, right? Oops, that's not what I wanted, right? And then you can do and then and then if you go to the help here on the three buttons, you can see a math input guide. So there are multiple guides, student guides, teacher guides, user guides there. But this is interesting if you want to see how you want to write math. You can learn from here. You can do all kinds of different equations, summations, integrations, even trigonometry, and so forth, right? So it's quite useful for math teachers. Yeah, I think what else? There's a built-in dice. So you can actually have a dice built in, which is a programmable dice. I'll show you how you can use those to play games, but it's available on for you to use. It's a 6-sided dice. Teachers have asked us for more sides. We are working on those as well. So I'll stop for a second here and see if there are questions before I move on.
Yeah, so a few questions related to the tools. Basically, someone is asking if you set the size of lines, arrows, and other objects to default, which does not change with the pen thickness. Is there a way to do that?
Not currently. Right now, the size of the yeah, but again, we'll take that input and we can actually, just like we did for the text slider, we can do that too. So make it independent of the pen size.
Yeah, and in something similar is basically if I like the small pen size, even the eraser size becomes very small. So
I see. Okay, I think again we'll take that input and fix it.
Yeah, and then one more question is about the dotted thin line that represent the circle center. So is there any way to do that?
Dotted thin line. Right now you have a dotted line, but I think the dotted line is same, but we can have different ways of doing the dots if you wanted to.
Yeah, and then there are a few questions related to groups and all, but I guess we can take that up after you have explained those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just saw one question pop up. This is a completely free tool. We'll never ever
Yeah.
charge educators for this tool, so it's going to be completely free forever. Um, you can use it as much as you want to.
Okay.
All right. So now I'm going to clear this board. So you just clear this and say clear the board for everybody. So it will clear all the objects that I drew. Sometimes it doesn't do the compass properly. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'm preparing a lesson. I can upload files to it. So for example, I'm going to upload like a PDF that has 3 pages in the PDF. It's a lesson with 3 pages. What Whiteboard.chat does is for each page in the PDF, it'll create a page in Whiteboard.chat as well on this board. So you have page number 1. I don't want the dotted line. Right, this is page number 2. So you can change the pages by this thing on the left hand side. So you can go to page number 2, right, and you go to page number 3. And like you can see, I can annotate this PDF that I uploaded directly. I don't need to do any conversion, right? I can type on it, I can draw on it, I can make copies of it if I wanted to, right? And then I can also now once I am done, I can invite students. So I can invite students to the class. This is kind of important. So please use this invite button on the top right to invite students. Don't copy this URL, because if you copy that URL, what happens is the students end up on the teacher's board instead of getting their own board. So you use this invite URL. There are 3 ways to send this out. One is they can scan a QR code. The students can scan a QR code to join this board. You can give them the classroom code, or most teachers do is copy this invite URL and then put this in your LMS or in your schedule. You can even put it on chat. So what I'm going to do is, so Shilpa can join as a student. I'm going to put it on our internal chat program. But at the same time, I'm going to open another browser window in incognito mode, so you can see the student experience with me. Right? So I'm going to do this. Right? I don't know why is it in this screen. Okay, so now I have, there are two windows. The left one is the teacher window and the right one is going to be the student window, right? And when the students join for the first time, they'll be asked for an identifier so that they can enter their name, so you can recognize them. That's the only reason why you want that, right? And now you see they get their own copy of this thing immediately, right? They can start typing on it, right? They can start annotating on it, on the things that you have created for them, right? And they can never erase. So as a student, if I want to erase any of the objects the teacher has put, I cannot do any changes to that. I can only erase the stuff that I am doing, but I can never erase what the teacher has put on the board, right? And this is the cool part, where the teacher now has the ability to go into this grid view and they can see the whole class at the same time, right? So they can see, hey, what is Shilpa doing? What is this student doing, right? And whatever the student is doing in real time shows up on their screen, right? So if the student is drawing something, you can see the teacher can see it. The teacher has the ability to join their board as well, right? On a if you want to give them individual pointers, you can say like good job, right? You can even give them a sticker. So we have a bunch of manipulators which I will go through. You can give them like a trophy, right? And then you can go back to the grid view and observe the rest of the class, right? You can sort this grid view in alphabetical order, or you can arrange this grid view in different orders. This is something that we recently added. So if you wanted to say, hey, make this grid alphabetical, or I want these students to be the first students that I want to pay the most attention to, you can do that through this open class boards menu here. Right? You can remove students from the grid view as well. If they are done and you don't want to observe them, you can remove them as well from here as well. Right? Uh, you can also change how this grid view looks. Right now it's a 2 by 2, but you can change, for example, if you wanted more students, you can go up to 20 students on a single page in the grid view, but you can have multiple pages. We have about 125 students we can support per classroom. That's a soft limit. If you want more, we can add more, but that's what we support today. Yeah, I think I'll pause again for a second and see if there are questions. Shilpa?
Yeah. So one question is, can a PDF be fixed to the board so that it stays there after you clear the board?
Yes, so you can lock PDFs. So what you can do is you can use the select tool. You can do multiple things. You can click this and say lock it. So remember, the students can never erase what you do. But if you don't want to accidentally delete it or accidentally move it, you can lock it. And then even if you clear the board, it will clear the rest of the things that you put on there, but not the PDF.
Yeah. So another question about the maximum number of students, which I guess you answered already. So 125, you said, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. And then another one is, when you join a board, it opens in the same window tab. Is it possible to have it open in a separate tab?
So I didn't quite get that. So the way we do these webinars is we spend an hour going through most of the common issues or common questions. And if you have something specific that you want to spend time with us, we stay past the top of the hour, 30 minutes past the top of the hour. And I'll be happy to look at what your suggestions are at that point.
So basically, they are asking, if is it possible to be on the multiple student boards at the same time?
Oh, I see. Oh, what you can do, oh, I see. When you click this, what some teachers do is they can actually open two browser windows. So if you have multiple screens, right, you can open two browser windows and have them on the grid view, but on different pages on the grid view. So you can actually keep doing that as much as you want, right? So like you can have this on the page one, and you can observe the students here on this window. You can join that student's board while the other window is still on the grid view. So you can continue doing that too.
So another question is, basically, when I wrote on my board PDF, it wrote on all the boards. So
Right.
is it?
So
Yeah.
by default, everything that you write on in the teacher's board gets replicated immediately in real time to the students, right? So if you want to turn that off, so for example, like I'm writing here, you see it shows up here. You can turn that off. You can say toggle replication to students. So at that point, whatever you put on your board, like the stars I'm drawing, doesn't go to the student board, right? But you can, if you turn that back on, replication back on, these objects will still not go, right? So the newer objects will go, but the objects you drew at that time will not go. But if you just move them a little or you change them a little, then they show up there.
So another question is, basically, they are asking if the students need to submit the work back to the teacher.
So I'll show the manage boards part. So all of the work that you're doing is getting saved automatically in the cloud. Nobody needs to save any of the work per se. So if you go, so if I were to call this as my, what is the date today? December 23rd. Right? And then board, I can go to manage boards from here, right? So I can, this list, the manage boards, you can see all of your lessons that you have ever used, right? And the students board. So if I look for December 23rd, you can see that this is the lesson. It has two student boards. The students work, even though they're not logged in, get saved automatically. And even if they work asynchronously, it will keep saving their work here, right? So you can always go back and see what the students are doing for that lesson. And you can make copies of this, which I will show you in a bit, right? You can also see in the manage board section, you can also see community boards. So what other teachers have submitted, other teachers are willing to share their lessons, right? So we have teachers from all over the world sharing their lessons here. You can make copies of their boards very easily from the community boards tab, right? So there you can search if you want a grade 5, grade 2, grade 7. This is used all the way from pre-K to university. So you'll see all kinds of boards in here. Anything
So
else, Shilpa?
yeah, more they are asking about when the students close their boards or exit the site, does the teacher still have access to the viewing? So which is through the managed boards, right?
That's right. You can view two ways. You can go through the manage boards, or you can click this uh, class boards, and you can quickly go from one student to another student back to the teacher from here as well.
And then another question is about can you make a student board yourself while you are still signed in as a teacher? So this is with respect to, I think, if you want to show something via screen share, but don't want to have a copy of
Okay,
copy to
so
other student boards. So
yeah,
something.
yeah. So I will show you that. So you can actually join the student board. So you can go from here. You can join one of the student boards. You can showcase students as well, right? So you can join Shilpa's board, for example, right? You can see her board here, and then you can uh, share on just like I'm doing on Zoom, her board, right? But you can showcase students' work as well directly from Whiteboard.chat. So if you click this avatar menu, you can do two things, right? You can make somebody a co-teacher. So if you want to have co-teachers who have the ability, so students cannot see each other's work ever, right? They don't have ability to go to the grid view. They don't even know who all are the participants, right? But you can make somebody a co-teacher, like I can make the student a co-teacher now, then they will have the ability at that point onwards to see the grid view, right? So you can see now they have the ability to do grid view. If somebody raises their hand, so if Shilpa were to raise her hand, right, by clicking this icon, you can raise your hand, right? You can say either you're finished, you'll see that the notifications come to both of them, right? And one of them can click this notification, go and go directly to the board where the student is asking for help, right? And the co-teacher has the ability to do that as well. You can stop making somebody a co-teacher by clicking this, right? And then they go back to their individual student board, right? You can see they're back to the student board. And then you can showcase a student. So for example, if you want to showcase this Shilpa's work to everybody, you can just press this button, and then everybody's board updates to Shilpa's board where you're showcasing her work, but you don't, it's anonymous. You don't see her name here. So you don't know whose work is being shared, right? So you can talk about it, but by default, nobody knows whose work is being shared, right? And then you can stop showcasing the work, and then everybody goes back to their individual boards as well. So
So one more question about the community boards. So some they want to know if the boards from the community can be seen first before they want to make a copy. Just
no, at this time, the only way you can retrieve them is to press a copy. But remember, these boards will get deleted on its own. So if you don't want to use it, either you can manually delete it or they get deleted after a while on its own.
And another question is related to how do we lock the kids out? So when I finish my lesson, my kids are still on it. Is there a way? Can we end the
So
session?
So what you can do is, again, from this avatar menu, you can do multiple things. You can lock this whole class. So if you lock the class, so for example, if you have a timed activity and assessment, and you don't want the kids to have ability to draw anymore, now they cannot change anything. You can lock that out, right? You have the ability to lock single pages. So if you want to finish the work on page 1, you can lock that page, and then everybody moves to page 2, right? You have the ability to set this follow teacher mode. So basically where you say that if I'm on page 1, everybody needs to be on page 1. If I go to page 2, everybody automatically goes to page 2, and they cannot go to any other page at the same time. So I have multiple choices if you want to just prevent them from writing. If you want to just close the board completely, you'll have to delete that session, and then everybody will go back to the home page, right? Um, so since I'm here, I'll show you a couple of more things in the avatar menu as well. We have this new thing we created where you can actually do chats in multiple languages in real time. So by default, this chat is quite easy. It's a one-to-many chat. So if I chat from the only the teachers have the ability to turn all of these features on. The students do not, right? So if I chat here, the students get a copy, but whatever the students type, like Shilpa said, good afternoon, the students don't see each other unless they are on a group board, which I will show you in a second. If kids are learning a different language, right, they can actually, if they want to change the default language of the chat, they can easily do that as well. So for example, if you want to change the language to Spanish, right, the chat gets translated in real time, right? So when they will get the message in Spanish in real time, so they can actually view things in real time in different languages. And each student can set their own language. A student can set Chinese, another student can set English, and so forth. So it makes it very easy to teach kids in a different language, and they can reply in their language, and it gets translated back to English to you as a teacher as well. Um, okay, so that's the chat thing. So I'll also show you group boards. I think there were a lot of questions on group boards. What you can do with Whiteboard.chat is you can create groups of things that you want students to do together, right? So the easiest way is to do auto create. So if I say I want to auto create groups of size 2 and say auto create groups, it will create the group boards on its own. It'll call this auto group, right? So it'll place the students, because I only had 2 students, it'll place both of the students onto the same group board, right? And now they can work together on a one-on-one basis. They can use the dice here if they wanted to, right? To play games. So is Shilpa, if Shilpa is spinning the dice, I can see hers. I can see her handwriting, right? You can see what she is typing in this, but I cannot erase stuff even on the group boards, right? I can erase my things, but I cannot erase what Shilpa is doing on the group board as well. And you as the teacher have the ability. So again, in the grid view, remember the grid view is like a camera on top of a kid's shoulder. You can see both Shilpa and the student one are on the group board. They're collaborating together. So you can actually see both of them are pointing to the same thing. If the student goes to a different page, this gets updated to show that this student is on page 2 on the group board. But if the student goes back, then they're again collaborating with each other on the group board, right? But as a teacher, if you join the group board, right, you can see what is going on. But you can, if you use the select tool at that point, let me do that again. So join the group board, you can use the select tool and see, hey, who wrote this? You can easily check who wrote what in the group boards as well. Remember, students can only write on their boards or assign group boards, but you can also see in a group board who's writing what, right? Very easily. So there's an ability to set timers here as well, which I didn't show you. If you want to set a timed activity for 5 minutes, there's a built-in timer that shows up on all the boards for all the students. Right? And when you're done with that activity, you click this and it will take away the timer. When you're done with the group board activity, you can click this trash icon. It doesn't delete the group board. That's still saved in your managed group, but it'll take the students back to their individual boards. I think somebody was asking, how do you edit the group boards in the questions that were submitted? So if you click this pencil icon, you can pick, hey, I want to take the student out. I want to put somebody else in place. You can edit the auto-created groups or the manually created groups as well. There's a third mode to pre-create groups as well, but that's a little bit convoluted. We have an explicit video on our YouTube channel which talks about groups. If you want, you can just look for that, and if you don't find it, reach out to us and we will point it to you, out to you as well, right? So that's all the group activities. Once you're done with the group activities, you can hit this trash icon and it'll take the student back to their individual boards as well.
Pawan, can you just show them again how to access the group? Like, how do you start for creating the groups?
So sure. So you have to start on the instructor board, right? Uh, so you go to instructor board, you see the avatars here. You click that. You say create group board, right? You can either do this where you pick the students you want to be part of a group. You can give this group a name, right? And then they'll be sent to the group board called blue, right? Or you can do the auto group, which I was showing you earlier, which I'll show you in a second as well. Now you see that everybody's on the blue group board. And then once I'm done, I click this, it takes them back to the individual student board. Or you can auto create groups. You can say, hey, I want 5 people to be part. So it'll take all the student participants, divide that by 5, and randomly put the students in these groups on its own, right? That's the other way. Okay, and once another thing that is cool we recently added is that once students finish their work, they can say I finished, right? And the notification shows up in chronological order to show who finished when, right? So you can actually see, hey, this student finished at that time, this student finished at that time, and then you can join them and do corrections if you want to as well, right? So any more questions?
Mostly they want to know about the conference tools for the group work.
So yeah, so there is a video conferencing built in. We recommend it's not, of course, it's not as good as Google Meet or Zoom, right? But there is a conference facility built in, only available to the teachers. They can click this, right, and they will get a conference bridge for the class, a video and audio conference bridge for the class, right? But also for each group. So whatever group you create, the kids are automatically sent to that group's conference bridge as well, right? And if you come back to the, if you remove the group board, then they're sent back to the classroom conference bridge as well, right? And so I think I also saw some comments about the number of tools available to the kids is too much, is overwhelming. But you as a teacher, you can click this gear icon. You can do several things here. You can select, hey, I want the brush to be the default tool. What is the default tool? What kind of tools kids see, whether they see simple tools, very simple tools, whether you want to what you can send a co-teacher invite directly to so if you do very simple tools for very young students, for example, they'll see a very small subset of tools available to them, right? So they won't be able to do a lot of things, but they won't be overwhelmed as well, right? There is this new cool thing that we added where you can use the webcam to take pictures of work that you're doing, for example, in on paper and pencil, and embed that on your page directly. Younger students especially like that quite a bit, because you can actually see this and you can go join their board. You can see this in the grid view. You can go join their work, right, and do corrections on real paper pencil work as well, right? And both the teachers and the students have the ability to record audio and video from their webcam, right? So you can record, if you're asking them to read a paragraph, you can record that, right? Play it back, it makes sense, and then they can place it on here, and you can go back and play the recording, right? So audio video is built in as well from the webcam, very easy to put in there by the kids, right? There's a whole bunch of new things I will show you really quickly as well. There is grids that you can put on the screen. There's like a regular grid. There's a big grid. This one is useful for doing math, right? Oh, I should put numbers, right? So it auto aligns to the grid as well, right? So you can actually do problems here. There is a college line paper where you can type or write. Again, this also auto lines. Right, so you can do multiple things in here. We have a coordinate plane we recently added, right? We have a only positive part of the coordinate plane we recently added. We have primely lined paper for younger kids to use, right, to do handwritings. We have programming, even a music sheet. So this is really cool for music teachers. They can use this in conjunction with our things we have in our palette. So I will show you. You click this palette button. There's a whole bunch of manipulatives here, right? So you can create your own manipulatives, which I will show you too. But you can use from here for younger kids if you want to use math symbols, for example. We have music symbols for music teachers. You can write music notes here, for example, right? You can write, you can do music theory, right? you have alphabets, we have um, like capital letters, numbers, we have magnetic letters in different colors, so you can use those. We have math manipulators. These are most interesting. We have like 100 block, a 10 block, a 1 block, right? We have protractors here, we have rulers here. All of these are requested by teachers, and it literally takes us 5 minutes to add new manipulators. So if you have any ideas, we can, if we don't have them, we can add them, or you can add them yourselves into your thing as well, right? You can do place value charts, you can do place value numbers, you have number lines, right? We have fraction tiles, we have snap tiles, we have multiplication 100 charts, multiplication charts, a whole bunch of things in the manipulative, right? We can also we also put reward stickers. I showed you. We have game pieces where you can play chess. We have Hindi alphabets here as well. We added US currency recently too, so you can actually use the US currency. We have Canadian currency because teachers requested. We have chemistry symbols, so you can do chemistry construction for higher age kids. I don't know how this works, but supposedly something like that. We can do atoms. We have Russian. We do have seasonal stuff, like we have Christmas things going on right now. We will have we have New Year stuff, and all of these objects that you have, you can actually do simple animations to it as well. So you can animate them, you can move them, right? You draw a path, it moves around, which makes it a lot of fun for kids to use, right? You can put snowflakes, you can put candies, you can put we have Hanukkah stickers, we have emojis, right? So we have emojis here as well, which all of these you can animate. We have a built-in um, spinner as well, so you can use the spinner. You can configure the spinner with different student names or whatever else you want, right? And then you can use it, the students can use it on group activities as well as on individual activities. There's a built-in clock, right? So for analog clock, so you can teach time to kids, right? All of that is built in as well. We just added this let it snow mode, which is really cool. So you just press that for 10 seconds, the class freezes, and then there is snow all over, right? Again, this is fun for the kids. We just added this yesterday. It's a really nifty thing. What else? So there's more things here. You can send, so once you've prepared the board, you can send a copy to another teacher. For example, if you have another teacher, you want to share it with your school, you send them a link in this link in an email, and they click it, it makes a copy for them so they can use it to teach. You can publish it to our community, which we request you to do. So, right. So we have more and more content. So if you publish it to our community, we make sure we check it and then we publish it out. Right. You can delete all the pages, delete the board forever, delete the page, clear all the pages, even your students' pages by here. Bingo, I will show you, which is really cool. Right. You can save a copy. So if you're teaching two sections, section A and section B, you can save a copy from here. So you can make 2 copies of your class from that point onwards. Right. There's also voting and polling built in here. So you can actually do, for example, you want to conduct a poll or a vote. The difference between a poll and a vote is that in a poll, the results are only sent to the teacher, but in the vote, everybody sees the result, right? So I can just send a very simple vote. So people pick colors, all the students get an option, right? And they can pick, hey, blue got 1 vote, green got 1 vote. So everybody sees the results of that thing as well. So it's all built in here too. I think that said, I'm gonna do one thing. I'm going to start a new board with the bingo, and then I'll share it with you guys while you play with it. We'll continue answering the rest of the questions that are out there. Right. So for bingo, this is again a teacher thought of making this. We are going to add a way for you to play Among Us as well over these holidays on Whiteboard.chat. But this is a special type of thing you can download from free bingo websites, where each page in the PDF is a different bingo tile, right? So what you can do is that you can tell Whiteboard.chat, you go to this manage book and you say upload bingo, right? So what Whiteboard.chat does is, for each participant that joins, it'll randomly assign a page out of that book that you just uploaded, right? So each student gets their own copy of the bingo board, right? So if I were to invite the student, right, for example, on the right hand side to this classroom, right, they will get their own copy, right? And then you can start playing bingo here, right? But you as a teacher, you can actually go to the grid view and see who's doing what on the bingo sheet, and who's, you can cheat who's winning, who's not winning, who's lagging behind, and all of that you can view in real time as well. And you can call out the things that you want them to do. So what I'll do is that I'll pause here, I'll post this invite so you can join this bingo board as students and you can experience it live with us, right? And while we go through the rest of the questions. Okay, Shilpa?
Yeah, so there was an earlier question related to groups. So when the students are done with the group activity, you ungroup them. So after you ungroup them, how do you access the work? Uh,
Yeah, so if you go to your manage groups again, so if you go to your manage boards here on the top left, right, at the December, the lesson that I was just using, right?
Hey, how you doing?
So you see the December.
Hold on. There's a top. Stand up.
Sorry. Shilpa, you might need to unmute when you ask again. I just muted the class. Okay, so you can see that the groups that were created are actually here. So they are saved. So you can go back to the groups in the manage group. They are not deleted until you explicitly delete it.
and can students access their group work?
So the students, if they're taken out of the group, they cannot access it, but the students have the ability to download their work as a PDF. So they can click this and say, download my board, or the group board that they were on as a PDF. And you as a teacher also have the ability to download the whole class as a single PDF, or one PDF per scholar, right? You have the ability to do that too, you and the co-teacher. You can have as many co-teachers too.
We already showed about the group chat and video conference, right?
Yes.
Yeah. They want to know about how do we play Among Us.
We are going to post a video. We are still working with a couple of teachers and their students to align it such that it becomes cool. But yeah, it's going to be quite nice. I think it's coming along. We are going to use the voting function with the timing function with the spinner and all of those to create a similar game playing experience where the kids will be assigned a task, right? A list of tasks that you can decide, and they have to complete the actual task which is related to education, of course, right? And then you can see the rest of the game progressing. So we are still working towards it. Hopefully early next year we should come out with it.
Yeah, and about the board expiration, I think. So they want to know how much.
Right. So again, this is a free service. We never want to charge, we'll never charge educators for this service, but it does cost us money to store all of this in the cloud. So things that are not useful, we have an auto expiry of 2 weeks, right? On objects that get created here. Right now it is turned off, so you'll see something old, but you have the ability to extend it infinitely, right? So you just click this button, this clock button next to the expiry, and you'll see that it extended it by a month. So it's going to expire in February 3rd. And you can keep extending it as much as you want, right? We also have the ability for you to download your work, like your worksheet that you have created, as a PDF, as a JSON file, like an internal file. So you can say, hey, export this. And once you export it, you can store it on your hard drive or your Google Drive, and then you can import it at any given time in the future, and then you'll get back for it for free. So you can export and import and use your own storage, but our storage does expire. Right, there's one more thing I forgot to show, which is quite cool. That just like the palettes that we have, right? So you can create your own objects. So teachers do this for example, things like their bit emojis, right? If we don't have anything in the palette, what you can do is that you can, first of all, you can copy paste anything from the internet by just pasting, right? And then you can move it here using the move resize tool. You can make this smaller, right? And then you can say, look, I want to use this again and again. I wish I had this in my palette. So you just click this and say add to palette, right? And it'll ask you for a name. Every time I pick the same thing, so I have a bunch of Grogu's in my palette. But if you go back to my palette, right, you go to my objects, you can see you can use that again and again, right? So that's a useful thing to put in your palette. Another thing that I didn't show is that remember, the kids don't have, so I'll do this on page 2 of the same thing that you are working on the bingo board, right? So remember, the kids don't have the ability to move any of the objects or any of the things that the teacher places, but you can make an exception. So if you wanted to create like an activity where you want to say, hey, count to 101 or count to 151, you can you can give them manipulatives, like for example, I give you a 100 block, I give you a 10 block and a 1 block, right? And instead of them searching through the palette and looking for these things, you can just put it on the board, right? And then you can use the you can resize it to a smaller size, for example, right? And then you can say for this object student, oops, so you use the select tool and you say right, so this object here, the students can clone, right? This object students can clone. You can also set objects to students can move, right? And students can clone. So now as a student, all you have to do is use the move tool. You can set the default tool to move for this class as well. And you can just move this and it will become an infinite cloner, right? So you can just now move the objects that the teacher has put on the board and you can use them to do the manipulatives right there, right? So versus them fiddling around with the tools, all of that stuff, they can just use it directly like this, right? From the objects that you place on the board. And you can try that on page number 2 of your student board as well. Just use the move tool and then you should be able to drag those things and it will auto create copies of it.
So another question is about, can we change the default size of the palette tools?
Not right now, but once you create a default size that you like, you can add to palette, then it becomes your object. It'll get saved with that size onwards, right? So then you don't have to pick from our palette, and you can just pick from your palette.
And then can the whiteboard be accessed from smartphone?
So it can, it works with a phone. Some students and teachers in India, in Brazil, they actually use it on smartphones. It is not designed for it. So some of the tools get in the way and stuff like that, but it does work. So you can hide this thing, for example, to give you more space. But yeah, it does work on smartphones too.
Yeah, so want to know about the Venn diagrams and lab tools for science.
Please give us ideas. We can easily add new things, like I said, into the palettes or whatever else you want. The chemistry teachers reached out to us and they love what we did. They said there was no tools available for chemistry to be taught online before this. So this is amazing.
So they want to know about creating different classes and assigning work according to the classes.
So yeah, so you can create as many boards as you want. There is no limitation. And you just put the invite link for each of the class into the class specific LMS or the schedule wherever you want to, right? You can make copies of it as well. Some teachers do pages like first 1 to 5 are for beginner stage, 6 to 10, so are intermediate and so forth. So they actually use the page numbers to progress the kids through the assignments or if somebody is ahead or behind, they use those to catch up. Any other questions, Shilpa?
About the spin wheel, they are asking if we can stop it faster.
Yeah, other teachers have asked us that too, because it takes a while for it to slow down. We will make it faster so that it stops sooner.
So, and they want to know about like, why would you like the video call? Like,
Um,
why would you use the video call if you are already on Zoom?
you don't need to use it. Like I said, some places around the world, they use video calls from us because it's free, and it works really well with the group things. So we don't recommend people use it as well if you have access to Zoom or Google, right? It's there for fallback reasons. If your school does, some school districts don't like Whiteboard.chat. They don't allow Whiteboard.chat because this button exists on the teacher's board. There's another website that we have created which is called wb.whiteboard.chat, which doesn't have that video call option at all. Everything else is the same except there is no video chat. So you can ask your school to open that up if you don't want the video chat option.
And do we have any webinar from students' point of view, like some video?
We have videos that teachers have created for students. So again, if you search for whiteboard.chat, there are like tons and tons of videos out there, but there are specific how-tos for students which teachers have created. We should be able to find them on YouTube. And there are, again, we are not paying anybody for any content. We love the teacher community, how welcoming they are. So they're creating how-to videos in different languages for us for free, right? Like there's like in Portuguese and Spanish and Russian and Korean, whatever else. So there's a whole bunch of videos out there.
And we would be sending out the recording for today's, right?
Yes, so please follow us on Facebook or Twitter, where we post this weekly webinar video. And please send us your suggestions. We love to add more content. So if you have, and we promise is like in a couple of days or a few days that we add new stuff like Venn diagrams and stuff we want to add to it, we will do that very easily.
And there is a question from Lisa Cummings. This is about the page 2 does not let me move the pictures like you showed us. So if you can please unmute yourself and like let us know what exactly you mean, it would be really helpful.
Yeah, we can do that after we stop the recording, Shilpa, in 2 more minutes.
Yeah, so okay.
All right. I think so. Sorry, no more questions, right?
Yeah, they are asking about translation options and graphic organizers. So
yeah, maybe we can discuss those in a bit.
Yeah.
Translation, I did show you the chat gets translated live. So it's actually, let me show you again. So if you do create chat here, so what you can do is that now on your board, you should be able to see my chat. Hi. Right. If you want to change your default language, what you do is that click these 3 buttons on the top right, and say chat language. And you should be able to pick the language that you want your chat to show up in, right? And then just refresh your page. And then when you see my messages, you should be able to see it in the language that you set. Right. So like, so it live translates whatever language that you want to pick. And you can translate the tools themselves. There is a Google plugin, Google Translate plugin that people in different parts of the world use, where it's a browser plugin and you can just translate the whole page itself. You can type in different languages if you have a keyboard that supports different languages. You can enable keyboards through your computer and you can type in different languages in the text windows already, or you can cut and paste from Google Translate even in there as well. So that's pretty interesting too. Yeah, okay, it's 2 o'clock. So what I'll do is I'm going to stop the recording, but like I said, we are going to stick around for 30 more minutes. So if you have questions or you want to interact with us, we'd love that.